Welcome to the South Florida Score. I am your host, Greg Andrews. Yeah, let that beat keep on going, guys. All right. It's Friday night. Hope you guys are all having a great evening. Had a great week. We've got a lot to get to tonight. I am not going to keep you guys for too long, but we've got several different things to get to this evening, and a lot of them have to do with the Miami Heat as well as Tua Tagovailoa, and we're actually going to start this podcast talking about Tua, and I have some interesting stats to talk about when it comes to Tua and the Miami Dolphins. A couple of things that I want to discuss is right now, the Miami Dolphins offense has been pretty lackluster, and people are criticizing the wrong person. I hate to say it, guys. Mike McDaniel has been called into question, to say the least, because his offense has been so complex, it seems that his backup quarterbacks are not able to run it. And it's clearly visible in the stat lines, in the inability for his playmakers to make a play. All right? I mean, guys, let's look at it like this. The Dolphins have had a bit of an issue. Tua in the game, yes, he's been criticized. I understand. You could hate him, you could love him, you could say he's a great quarterback, he's not a great quarterback, but look at the numbers when he is on the field. They play significantly better football offensively. I'm going to give you some stats right now, and I'm going to give you two different things. All right. Right now in 2024, they've only played 5 games. Yards per game in terms of passing, 185.6 yards per game. Practically nothing. It's one of the worst in the league. Rush yards per game. And this is important, and there's a reason why I'm bringing up rush yards per game, because Tua being on the field and having their offense run a specific way has their passing game and rushing game going in a different direction than they are now without him on the field. My point that I'm trying to do with all of this is that Tua is an integral, so important. My God, it's like peanut butter and jelly. Without him, it does not work. It does not work, people. Rush yards per game, 116.8. Not the greatest. Do you know how many passing touchdowns they have this year, guys? 2. They have 2, and they came with Tua early in the season when he was playing. They have 2 touchdowns passing. Do you know how many they had last year through 5 games with Tua? They had 11. I think that's a big eye-opener. They were also points per game. 12 points per game is what they're averaging. It's worst in the league. It's pathetic. With the amount of talent on this offense, A-Chain, Mostert, Waddle, Hill, and now Odell Beckham Jr., who's going to be in there. We'll see how he does. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens this weekend if he does get some playing time. And I know Tua's not there, but still, I would like to see this offense do something better than what they've been doing. They finally got the run game going a little bit, not last weekend, they had a bye, but the weekend prior. They're facing the Colts. Their defense is not the greatest, so they should be able to compete more on offense and put up some better stat lines. But my point that I really want to tell you, I'm going to give you some stats from just 5 games into the season last year and 5 games into the season this year. to prove how important Tua is to this offensive scheme, to the timing routes, to how quick he's able to get the ball out of his hands. He is such an integral part. Just Tua, stop trying to dive forward when you are down so bad in a game. I know you're trying to make a play, guy, but just don't do it. Don't do it. Slide. Slide. All right? Take it easy. Take it easy. So in 2023, through five games, remember the big one was against Denver. They scored 70 points. So that really kind of shook the airwaves of how their stat lines compared to this year, but still, their stats. Yards per game passing, 322.8 through 5 games. They totaled 1,614. That's insane. Rush yards per game, almost 186, 185.8 yards per game in 5 games. TD passes, 11. They were averaging 36.2 points per game. This year, 5 games, 185.6 yards per game passing, 116.8 yards per game rushing. Like I said, only 2 touchdowns, and that's from Tua. 12 points per game. That is it. That is it, guys. They are dead last in the league for putting up points. It's terrible. The numbers don't lie in terms of how crucial Tua is to helping run this offense and make it smooth. I am just throwing that out there because there are so many Tua haters. I'm a Tua supporter because I see what Mike McDaniel is trying to do. I see the timing routes. I can see the scheme he's trying to run with Tua there, with how Tyreek runs his routes, Waddle, all these guys, how out of the backfield when they run wheel routes, things like that, screen passes. I see what they're trying to do this year, but Tua tried to do a little too much during that Bills game, and it cost the Fins, unfortunately. Now, the question I want to ask you is this, and I want to play this really quick for you. This is Mike McDaniel on Tua returning. Okay, and I want you to really listen, and I want you to be skeptical of what he's saying because, again, do you think his return will be delayed if they lose against the Colts?
There's still information that he's seeking this week, and as far as timelines go, I know he's not playing this week, and I do expect to see him playing football in 2024. But where that is exactly, we'll let the process continue.
So, okay, we'll let the process continue, but okay, is he coming back for the Cardinals? A lot of analysts are saying, "Oh yeah, it's going to be against the Cardinals. He's coming back." He is keeping this thing so wide open. I think there's so much riding on this next game. If they don't win against the Colts, they don't win. And they end up being way behind in the AFC East standings. Is it worth it to try to take a risk, put Tua in that offensive scheme again, and possibly have him get hurt? I don't know. I really don't know. Honestly, I don't care what your take is on him. He is integral for this offense to be running clean, to make plays. You could see it last year. You can clearly see that there was such great cohesion in that offense. That's why they were Tua was top 5 in the league for most quarterback stats and top 10 in the league for the couple that he fell out of that top 5 category. He was a top 5 quarterback last year. Guys, I hate to tell you, he really was. On paper. Maybe by your eye test, certain things, yeah, here and there. But guess what? Every quarterback has a bad game. But I believe that his playing this year is really going to go on. Do they win this weekend? If they do, he will probably play against the Cardinals because guess what? They are still in the hunt for making the playoffs and winning the AFC East, but they have to make sure that Tua stays healthy. That's the biggest name of the game. He's got to stay healthy. You cannot run the risk of him being gone again. If he's gone again, your season is done, my friend. It is done. There's nothing to talk about. There's no quarterback you're going to bring in here that's going to understand the system that's clicking like it did last year because we can see it right now. Yeah, these guys are not the greatest quarterbacks in the league. I get it. These backups are not the greatest. They're backups for a reason. But still, it's so complex. Mike McDaniel had to tone it down and kind of go a little more old school. They ran it a lot more a couple of weeks ago, and they had a lot of success. They won barely against New England, but still, you saw the difference in the team offensively from when two was in and when two was out. Yeah, Buffalo was not the greatest game ever, but hey, man, everybody's allowed to have a bad game. It happens. The NFL, it's tough. If you've never played quarterback, you've never actually played football, you have no idea. It is the toughest position to play. It's the most important position to play in all of sports. So give the guy a break. I hope he comes back. I hope the Dolphins win. Even if they lose, I still think there is a shot. But the AFC is pretty. It's going to be pretty competitive with the couple of trades that the Jets made and the Bills made to get wide receivers. It's not going to be game changing, but I still think it's going to be making a difference to where the Dolphins could be in some trouble. But they need to win this weekend. They need to win this weekend. I mean, it's pretty clear, guys. Anyways, moving forward, on to another football stat. We're going to be talking about Cam Ward and his Heisman hopeful with University of Miami. Right now, I have him ranked as number 2. On most websites, most analysts have him ranked number 3. And I can kind of see it, but then again, I kind of don't. I mean, Ashton Gianti, or Gianti, if I'm not pronouncing that correctly, I apologize. He has just been absolutely insane. The running back from Boise State, absolutely nuts this year in college football. He's first in yards at 1,248 yards. He's averaging almost 10 yards a carry, 17 touchdowns. And the strength of schedule, though, the one thing I will say is this. Their strength of schedule to start the season was 90. I'm sorry, 79. Now it is 90. But what is amazing is his yards per game is just outstanding. He's averaging almost 200 yards a game or a little more than that. And he's by far the front runner. He is the front runner, bar none right now, unless he has a game or two. But you look at the teams they've played. The Oregon game, I'm not saying is a game changer to him, but they don't have the hardest schedule compared to the other guys that are Heisman candidates right now. Like Dylan Gabriel is technically the number 2 as of right now from Oregon, the quarterback from Oregon. He is 10th with receiving yards at 1798 and completion percentage, minimum 100 attempts. Because I know Arch Manning is there, these guys are there, but they don't have 100 attempts for passing, so you can't really put them in this category. So if you guys search this, I'm just telling you right now, you're going to see there's going to be like a 1, 2, 3, and then another 1, 2, 3. That's the guys' attempts above 100 passing attempts, and then guys below it. Arch Manning's in that top 3, of course, but Dylan Gabriel has a 76.1 completion percentage, which is first in the country. He has 13 touchdowns, which is 23rd. His quarterback rating, his RTG, is 12th at 169.3. Their strength of schedule started the year at 25th. Now, for the remainder of the season, is 52nd. So again, compare Ashton and Dylan, and you'll see there's a harder strength of schedule. Again, Ashton is just incredible numbers. Absolutely incredible numbers that he's throwing up there when he's averaging almost 200 yards a game and or a little over 200 yards a game. I think it's just the 6 games this season. I mean, it's just phenomenal looking at these numbers. I'm looking right now. My God. And there's Cam Ward. People are saying, "Oh, their strength of schedule is not there." No, it's there's nothing there. There's no great games they played. Well, they got a test this weekend, guys. Louisville is no joke. Okay, their offense is pretty high powered. They've been playing solid football. Everybody has been talking about this game right now down in South Florida. And I'm not making it a joke either because I'm a little nervous and I'm a Canes fan since the day I moved down here 28 years ago. Sorry, wow, 29 years ago. But still, Cam Ward so far this year, second in passing yards at 2,219. Completion percentage is 16th at 69.2. He is first, tied for first with touchdowns at 20, and with quarterbacks with more than 100 attempts at RTG 182.4, he's third in the league. And I feel like he's only going to get better. I mean, he's pulled out some Heisman plays that I just cannot believe that he has done. It's been incredible. If you guys have been watching these games, he's an escape artist. He is the reason why pulled out a win against Virginia Tech. He is the reason why they pulled out a win against Cal. And I'm sorry for Miami fans, if you guys are listening live, thank you so much. If you're not and you're listening in the archive, so be it. But still, if you're trying to stay up to watch that Cal game, you missed one hell of a game. He led that team back pretty much single-handedly. Yeah, their defense is great, but man, he came out there and that kid has no quit in him. I mean, that's if that's not Heisman candidate, front runner, I don't know what it is. I mean, I get it. Dylan Gabriel. And here's one thing I did not touch on. I'm sorry, I just forgot this stat right here. Cam Ward, the strength of schedule to begin the season was 49 for UM. It is now 57th. So right now, they are just behind Oregon. Oregon has had a tougher schedule, and they played Ohio State. We know what happened there. Ashton Janty from Boise State, super easy schedule right now. They've been playing great football. Great football. That's why he's putting up the numbers he's been putting up. But we have to remember something. The ACC is tough. They have a lot more games left to play. And I know FSU, they're not doing so well this year, but it always turns out to be a great game. And if Cam can keep putting up these numbers, I mean, every game so far this year, 300 plus yards. Every game. Every game. Yeah, he's had his turnovers. I know he's had 5 interceptions, and Dylan Gabriel's only had 3. But look at the amount of attempts. Look at the amount of attempts of throws that they've had in those games. It's a lot more going on for Cam than for Dylan. All right? So I just want to throw that out there really quick. So I feel like right now, if things go the right way for Boise State, and Ashton still keeps putting up almost like 200 yards a game. Again, I laugh right now just because it's just astounding what this kid's doing, man. I know it's college football, but man, he's 5'9", 215 pounds, but he's a bruiser. Oh my God, bruiser. And I love watching him play. I saw some of his highlights. Jeez, my goodness. Kind of reminds me of a Ricky Williams, a real young Ricky Williams, just bulldozing guys. It's unbelievable how he runs. But I think that if Cam could put up the kind of numbers, the 300 plus yards per game, 2 to 3 touchdowns a game, limit your turnovers, and keep your completion percentage hovering around that 70% I think he might be the front runner as long as Ashton has a little falter here and there. But right now, Boise State's running back's just running away with it. No pun intended. Seriously. But anyways, moving forward, I'm going to take 1 second. I'm going to play something for you guys. The Miami Heat have started their preseason, and so far, they have looked dominant on defense, especially Tyler Hero. He had some really high praise from Pat Riley. Pat Riley said he's improved his defense, his speed, his strength. I mean, he said the kid just can't not get his hand on a ball when he's out there. The Heat have literally been averaging, I'm not kidding, look up the stat. They've been averaging almost 15 steals a game for preseason games. If you don't believe me, I'm telling you, check it out. It is unbelievable for me to say that stat to you, but it's a true stat. But I want to play this to you for you really quickly, just to hear what Jimmy Butler had to say before preseason games start for Media Day. Here we go.
I don't know. When I tell you more than anything, I'm living for the right now in the moment. I am. A lot has transpired in the past 48, but I'm glad to be here, man. So we're gonna hoop, we're gonna win, and then we'll take it from there.
So that's Jimmy Butler on talking about contract extensions for the most part and his focus for the season. There's been a lot of skepticism about what is Jimmy thinking he's going to do. He's said before he's not going to take a contract extension from the Miami Heat because he's going to wait till the end of the season, see where things take him, blah, 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 blah. We've heard this story so many times before with so many stars in the NBA or so many stars in the NFL. So many professional athletes have sung this tune, and we see what happens. But you know what's really different? Jimmy's 35. Going into a latter part of his injury-plagued career for the last couple of years, his playing time has been diminished, and he still is a solid player, period. He puts up numbers. He can get steals. He can assist. He can rebound. He does everything. He can energize the team to win. He's already done it. He's already done it. I mean, they've made the finals twice. Yes, they were swept, unfortunately, but they were the 8th seed in one season, and he willed that team. He willed them to get to the finals, and they did. Unfortunately, injuries, things like that do play a part in a lot of this, but it's not an excuse because every team is hurt. Every team is hurt. But the one thing I can tell you is this. Jimmy moving forward has a totally different mindset. And he has said that he's really out here, he's focused, there's no more shenanigans, he's serious about this year. And they asked him, "Oh, hey, are you going to sign a long-term deal? Where do you stand with the Miami Heat?" He's not sure, he says, but he said his focus is here. He loves it here. He's willing to do what it takes to make it to the finals. And I say this to you, Jimmy, please, please. You're 35. You're at the partial end of your career. The thing that needs to be done if you want to win a championship is not leave the team and seek out a deal. You've said, "Hey, man, I've made enough money in my career. I've made enough." But if you want to win and you've made enough money, this is what you got to do, buddy. Sign a 3-year deal. Don't go max. Let the Heat save some money in the cap to bring in other guys to help you win a championship. It shouldn't be about money. You got your Big Face Coffee brand. You've got so many different endorsements. Make it about the team. Make it about winning a championship. Let's do it. Let's do it. Tyler Hero is looking good. You're talking about Bam and Tyler and the cohesiveness of this team and the young guys and all these different things. Make it happen. Don't just talk the talk, walk the walk, dude. Sign that contract. 2 years, 3 years, whatever it is. Say, "Hey, man, I'm here. I want to retire a Miami Heat player." Even if you're only making, $25 million a year. You said you made enough money, or 20 million, 15 million, whatever it is. Help them find another guy or two. Some star players. Let's go. Let's go, dude. You've made it to the finals. It was not easy. The time is now. You can't wait that much longer, Jimmy. If you get injured again this year, you blow out a knee, twist an ankle. It's been like that for the last 2 years. Don't take the risk. It's not worth the risk. Get out there, sign your deal, support your team, show them you're serious. Yes, I know Pat said what he said. He didn't want you opening your mouth. Yeah. I know. Take it with a grain of salt, guy. He's the Godfather. He's won so many rings. How many do you have? How many do you have, Jimmy? None to show for everything, how hard you've worked. Nothing to show how hard you've worked. This could be your shining moment to be like, he was unselfish. They built a great team. He led that team, still put up solid numbers, and he is the reason why the Miami Heat won a championship in the 2024-2025 season. Let's make things real. That's it, man. That's it. Big Face brand coffee. I love it. I've tried it. By the way, endorse me, please. But Jimmy, take less money, sign a 2-3 year deal, extend it, make it easy. We'll find someone to bring on here, and you and Bam and Tyler and Highsmith and all these guys can make a killing out there. You guys can win. You said you got cohesiveness. You've been working this summer. You're serious. Make it serious. Make it serious. All right, on to another serious note. Give me 1 second. So I want to bring up just something very quickly because, this is not an incredibly, particularly complex topic. Inter Miami with Lionel Messi and his Barcelona cohorts who are now there just dominating the MLS. They ended up pulling out a pretty incredible season with what they were able to do numbers wise, even without Lionel Messi being injured for as long as he was. I was pretty shocked that comparing it to last year, this is where I cannot believe the amount of headway they were able to make in terms of, hey, they were still winning games and not winning them like close. They did a pretty solid job. Jordi Alba, Busquets, all those guys held their own when he was out, and they still won games. They really did a great job as a team to play and win the important games to come out with the best record in the league. 71 points. 71 points is what they had, guys. And they're not unbeatable. I will say that because they did lose. Okay, they did lose games. I mean, albeit I think it was 4. But I think running into this postseason, they have to be the team to beat. I mean, yes, they last year was a little bit of an anomaly. It was weird. Yeah, the hype was there and all that, but still the cohesion really wasn't there. Now it's like, man, it's night and day. I mean, I was just telling you about the record. They were 21-8-4. They lost 4 times, 8 draws, 71 points. The next closest team was the LA Galaxy, and they had 64 points. They were 19-7-7 after 33 games. Goal differential, the best team in the league was Columbus Crew at plus 31. They were plus 26 for Miami. But I mean, it really doesn't matter when you have Lionel Messi there taking charge. I mean, he can literally, 30 yards out, he can curl a ball in the corner. We've seen it how many times just in the MLS and in his career. It's been, I don't even know how many times he's done it because I don't care. And yes, thank you. Yeah, even Messi's not too old. Give me a break. It doesn't matter. Look at the numbers he's putting up. I mean, he might be jogging down the field, but that's the beauty of his game, my friend. He can jog up and down the field because of the fact that that's how he's saving his energy at important points of the game, those parts where it's critical to score a goal, where the situation that is there, and he might have a corner kick, or there's he's right on the edge of the corner of the box, the top of the box. He's got to curl that sucker in there. He can do it. He's not too old. I would say the only thing that he might be too old for is if he gets hurt. For those of us that watched his ankle injury, and it was purple and swollen, he was out for a bit, but he came back and didn't look like he was hurt at all previously. But when you're playing soccer and you twist an ankle hard enough, that's going to happen. Even for, NBA player, NFL, or just you or me walking down the street, you turn your ankle hard enough, it's going to look as purple and as swollen as that. But that dude, he gets in the training room and he's like, hey, I'm going to work my ass off. I'm going to make sure that this ankle is going to be good to go. I know you're saying 6 weeks, but I'm going to make it 3 or 4. And that's essentially what he did. But I will tell you that, yes, he's getting up there in age, but so are his buddies. And they're still dominating the league. It is the MLS. This is not Premier League, guys. Let's make that very clear. It is very, very different. I hate to say it. A lot of the premier guys, a lot of the world's best come here, unfortunately, I hate to say it, to die with their career. This is kind of their last send-off. But Luis Suarez has been unbelievable with him. Unbelievable. He has been great with him paired up. Busquets, my God, every time I watch a game, I feel like he's always in the game playing. Even if he's got a twisted ankle or whatever, he is still in the game. The man is a Terminator. It is unbelievable. But I do think that they are the team to beat. They are human still, but they are the team to beat. But there are certain things. If you get them on the run and you can play those fast break moments, you can beat them. They did lose 6-1. I'm not misspeaking here. 6-1 against Cincinnati earlier in the season, and it was a rout. It was nasty. And Cincinnati finished the season third in the division. Third. They're a solid team. They're very, very good, and they could beat Miami. 6-1 is no joke. It's no joke. That's throwing fire on already a fully lit gasoline blow up. And not to mention, in that game, Sergio Busquets did get a red card in the 62nd minute, so that didn't really help the cause. But most of the goals, 5 of the goals for Cincinnati, happened within the first half of play and extra time. So that red card really had nothing to do with it. So they are susceptible to a loss. And at the time, the two teams were separated by a point. By 1 point. So if Messi can stay healthy, and Busquets and his and all the other guys that are there from Barca, they can keep themselves healthy, I think that they're going to be able to win the MLS Cup. But the thing is, they just need to be cohesive. I think the rest of the team needs to kind of follow suit in terms of making sure that they can back these guys up. Campagna, he's amazing. He's got to get up there too. And excuse me, give me 1 second. Kramaski, again, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, the young gun who had a hell of a year last year and is having a great year this year. Would start off the year injured, but he needs to show up too. A lot of these guys, they've got so much talent. They should be able to take this, not with ease, but they got to make sure they stay healthy right now. That's the name of the game. Health, health, health. And that leads me to the health issue with the Panthers. Right now, the Florida Panthers have not started the season on a bad note. After 6 games, they have 7 points. But here's the issue. They've played 6 games. And the next team behind them is the Tampa Bay Lightning, who've played 3, won them all. So the Panthers are up by 1 point against a team who has played only 3 games compared to their 6. And now the risk is that bringing Barkov back, who got injured in the second game of the season, and Tkachuk got injured as well. They've been missing. They're supposed to come back, I think, this next week. The players have been playing great hockey. They just lost in overtime last night, unfortunately. But They have been playing really solid hockey, very cohesive in the last week. But the problem is, how healthy are they going to be? I want to see Barkov, who's our game changing guy. He's the captain that pulls everything together with his team. He's why they won a championship last year and they hoisted the Stanley Cup trophy. I think they need to make sure that Kachuk and Barkov can stay as healthy as they can. And believe me, teams are coming after him this year. It's real. It's a whole different season. When you guys win the Stanley Cup and you're coming back in the off season, you're like, all right, yeah, we're going to come back. Yeah, we're going to be XYZ. You've had a lot of changes on your team. You lost some solid defensive guys, a couple of guys on all, the red line, and it's going to be hard. But you gained a lot of talent too, some young talent. You picked up some other guys. Thank God you retained Reinhardt, Lucerinen. There are so many key players, thank God they were able to retain, sign long term. I mean, Carter Verhaeghe, my goodness. I was having a heart attack when I was hearing about, is Carter Verhaeghe going to sign? Are they going to be able to? Are they going to have the cap room? Are they going to da 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 da? That was like really coming into this season, and they finally pulled the trigger and they signed him. I think it was to a 7 or 8 year deal. Thank God he has been a catalyst for this team. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. He missed a lot. He was kind of absent for some of that finals, but when he showed up, it was in those crucial moments, guys. So crucial. But I think this team is built to withstand the test of time in terms of an 82-game season, regardless if somebody gets hurt. So the Panthers, let me break it down. They started the season at home. 4-game road trip. Home again. They went 2-2 on the road, which is not a bad start considering you lost 2 of your starters. You still pulled a 2-2. You put up some goals. But the thing is this. Bobrovsky, to me, everybody says, he's definitely a top 5 goalie in the league. Don't look at the numbers. Don't look at the numbers. Save percentage, all that stuff, because you have to ignore it. He's a anomaly and an outlier in this situation. If you're thinking about, Shesterkin, or I forgot his name from the New York Rangers. They have solid goalies, and like all these top tier goalies, their save percentages can be liars. Bobrovsky is a great outlier to look at because if you look at his regular season compared to the postseason, his numbers weren't necessarily these outstanding, oh my God, he's going to win. Oh my God, he's the best goal. No, but he made the crucial saves when he had to. His blindside blocker save, turning his back in the finals was one of the great. I'm sorry, it wasn't the finals, but it was one of the greatest saves I've ever seen in my life. Next to Eddie Belfour's single glove save when he was diving across the crease back in, I think it was the 90s or the early 2000s. I think it was the 90s. Literally open glove, open net, got there, dove, and the puck just happened to get in his glove. It reminded me of that. That is how good Bobrovsky is. The numbers do not speak to how great he is. People need to understand that. This team is built for great success because I feel like their GM has done a phenomenal job of putting together talent that is from the veteran side to their younger mid-range age side because they are able to be so cohesive. And without their 2 main starters on that really put up all the numbers offensively for the most part, besides Reinhardt, they have been so good. And Bennett, too. I keep leaving out Bennett. I'm so sorry. They've been so good. I don't care what the record is right now. It's too early to really dictate and say, this team's the best. This team's the best. This team's the best. Let me start talking about that about 25 games into the season when they're about a little over a quarter of the way. When we see the goals against, goals for, save percentage, has Reinhardt start stepping it up, which he's done. He had a shorthanded goal and a power play goal in one game. First Panther to do it in I don't know how many years. I think it was in the same period too, which is even more ridiculous. But still, I'm digressing. The whole point of this is that the Florida Panthers are in such a good position right now to start where they are. Most teams that win the Stanley Cup can have a little bit of rust when they start the season because they're, you know what? We're just going to kind of roll with the punches, start the season as we started, and that's it. And we'll roll with the punches right now, and then as the season picks up, we'll have things. We'll dictate it as we go. No, they're understanding what the whole end outcome is here. It's not starting 30 games in the season. It starts now. That's why they went 2-2. They could have folded, but their guys stepped up. The numbers are good. They're playing great on offense. Their defense has been solid. Their goalie work has been a little sketchy here and there. But I think Knight, their backup, has done a pretty good job. The kid hasn't seen the professional ice. I can't remember what it was. It had been a while because Stolarz stole the show for the backup last year. But he's back. Knight is back, Spencer Knight. And he's had a couple of really solid games. He had a win and was real happy. And I think he could be spectacular. He really could. I mean, Stolarz was just a beast in goal because he's a big body in there, guys. But I digress. I think the Panthers are in a really good spot to start the season, but they still have a lot of work to do. We just got to see what happens. What happens? Can they keep themselves healthy? Can Kachuk stay healthy? Can Barkov stay healthy? Can Bennett? Can all these guys? Some of these guys are big hitters, and they have to stay healthy. They have to stay healthy. That's it. It's so early to have injuries now. And again, the Barkov injury, freak accident. It was not, guys. I've seen people start calling it out that it was intense. I'm sorry. It was he got hit with intent. It was not intent. There was no intent with the hit. It was an accident. He was going down, going to the boards, and that was it. All right. It happens. It's the game of hockey. You go into the boards, you're going to get hurt, especially going to feet first or back first or face first. You're going to get hurt. The boards are not soft, okay? They have some give, but there's not much. It's like hitting a rock wall. But anyways, so I really believe that all the sports in South Florida are going in the right direction. There's only one that's kind of a stalemate. I'm not going to get into that today. It's a topic for another day. The Miami Marlins. They have a lot of work cut out for them to do. Like I said, I'm not going to get into that today because there's a lot of work to be done with that team, man. I mean, they just I can only laugh at it. I'm sorry. I can only laugh. But other than that, all the teams here in South Florida are really on the rise. I don't see anything negative. Yeah, the Dolphins have a little downside to it right now, but guys, we got to keep our chins up with this one. Tua's going to come back, but I really think it's going to really depend on if they beat the Colts or not. Because again, are you going to take a risk on a guy you just paid $50+ million to per year to risk getting hurt and maybe risking his career? I do want to say this though about that. When it comes to brain injuries, guys, the brain as an organ is not a cut on the arm or a twisted ankle, sprained ankle, or a torn tendon or ligament. It's the brain. It runs all of your systems in your body, is the most important organ that we have. For it to mend itself and heal, it takes time. Not a few months. With the way Tua has gone through this, it could take up to a year. And I would say this, Coach Mike McDaniel, Dolphins organization, GM Chris Greer, I know you're not going to listen to this, but anybody else who is listening, if you feel the season is a loss, don't risk don't risk his health. Don't risk the future. He runs this offense like it should. I said in the beginning of this podcast, the numbers are there. It proves Tua fits the system. This year didn't start like it did last year. But we need to see where it goes if he comes back. But let him rest if he needs to, because the brain takes time to heal, longer than any part of the body, any other organ. It takes longer to heal. So please let him rest if you feel the season is a wash. Safer to go there than it is to put him on the field and risk an injury. And then you lose your starting quarterback and you start from scratch and rebuild. Essentially, again, Tua's Tua's concussions have hurt this rebuild. And when I say this, I really mean it. Don't start from scratch again at the quarterback for the 20-somethingth time since Dan Marino's retirement. Please, as Dolphins fans, we cannot take this anymore. I'd rather you not draft. I really would rather you just trade for some crazy, amazing quarterback right now and give up 1,000 draft picks than to have to go through another rebuild for another 6 years. It's been too long. It's been too long. So either let him rest or don't let him rest. If the Bills lose next week and you're capable and you can win, throw him in. Throw him in. Come on, let's go. Just tell him, don't dive head first. My God. Slide. Don't dive head first. Please don't. And the last point I'm going to make before I end this podcast tonight is again talking about that concussion protocol. And I do think that Tua has been looked at a little bit harder than other players in the league. There have been other players that clearly have been concussed in the field and gone in the tent, maybe have missed the game and then go back in, the very next game for the following week. Or like in the Josh Allen situation, I think all of America saw him get hit. He nailed his head on the ground. He was out for a couple of seconds. Took him out, put him in the tent, came right back in a few plays later. Are you kidding me? I know the fencing position for Tua is a horrible thing to see, but I'm going to tell you one thing, guys. Like him or hate him, think he's great or not as a quarterback, Tua is the face of the NFL. And it has to do with concussions, yes. They're going to want him to play, yes. They have not forced him to retire. So they're going to want him to play. And I will tell you this much. It cannot be about, because of what you see with Tua's concussions looking so much more severe, it's got to be equal. That punch-drunk feeling cannot be that ridiculousness. And we got a caller. Hold on one second. Harris, you there? Harris, you there?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Great. Now, just hearing you talk about whether Tua will come back or not.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's coming back this year, no matter what.
Oh, he
I
is.
think he's coming back maybe after that bye. What do you think?
Well, again, this was the bye week. And from what Mike McDaniel has said is he thinks he's going to play at some point this year. That's literally what he said. He's like, he's going to play, but sometime in 2024, which is the most vague, perfect response from Mike McDaniel you can get.
Week. So,
that's Mike McDaniel. That's quintessential.
So what did Mike McDaniel say this week about him?
Really, it's been the same thing. It's we're waiting for the doctors. There's still more that we have to figure out and hear. The feedback needs to be XYZ. It's the game of it's not the game of chicken. I want to say it's the wrong way to put it, but I would say it's more of a game of he's playing. If we win this weekend, we have a better chance of winning the AFC East because we're staying up. We're still competing with Buffalo. Because remember, Buffalo is pretty much the front runner to the win. I mean, it's safe to say they're the front runners to win the AFC East right now. They're 4-2. Everybody else is either 2-3, 2-4. If Miami can win next week, it'll be 3-3.
So, yeah.
Well, again, look. Do you really think? Let me ask you a question. Do you think Amari Cooper is so good that he's going to make them hands down, like game changing, like the numbers and the touchdowns and everything, they're going to be so good they're just going to run away with it? Do you think he's that good?
I do. I think he's a difference maker. I think he's a number one, and that they were lacking that, and they were doing better before Shakir got hurt. And Shakir was weak number one. He's probably a number two.
But what
And
happens
if
with their
Amari
scheme?
Cooper goes in there as a
Yeah, but
number
what
one, I mean,
happens with the
he can
scheme
play
though, and how
kind
it's
of like
run?
this, maybe like the Steph Diggs role, like they had last year.
Yeah. Oh no, I hear you. Absolutely. I think. Look, I would say he's a game changer. Yes. Would I say that he's ultimately like they're going to win the next 11 games of the season? No.
No, no, no. But it's
I
a
mean,
team that is already very good, and then you're going to give them, hey, here's another. It certainly gives them a leg up, and
yeah. I
at
mean,
least in the
I
East.
think they've
But I think the Dolphins can still, if Tua can come back. But that's the real thing is, does anyone want to be on the hook to clear him? Is that maybe that's what they want?
that's
Someone wants
that's
to
what I was
be
just
the
about
one
to
that clears
ask
him.
you. That's what I was going to ask you. Do you think? I mean, right now, no. Right now, they've technically cleared him to play. I mean, this is the hard side of what has been happening of the clearing of Tua Tagovailoa right now is there's been a lot of talk of, all right, so he's been cleared right now, but how was he cleared? Who cleared him? All of this. Mike McDaniel said he's going to play in 2024. They put him on IR. It was questionable because other players in the league have had concussions and were not placed on IR and came back, a week later, 2 weeks later. I mean, look at Devon Achane. He was just hurt last week with a concussion. He's back this weekend. And the thing is, they're saying
Yeah,
that Tua is being more of a
special
they're
case.
making more of a cautious thing here, overly cautious for a reason, but there was no reason for IR because he was technically cleared before the end of IR, and they're just like, why would you put him on IR? But it's more of a again, it's that keep the player from himself so he doesn't get hurt
Right.
again. But it's like how far do you go when you're so passionate as a player? And I know Tua was trying to make a play. I mean, every analyst said I was trying to make a play, trying to make a play. But where do you draw the line of hey, trying to make a play when you're down 17 points with 8.5 minutes left in the fourth quarter? Yeah, anything's possible. But when you've got a history of concussions, why are you diving head first to
Yeah,
get
no,
a
I
to
think
get a first down? It's like live to play another play.
right.
Don't
Clearly,
dive
his
head
his
first. But
instincts get
yeah,
him in
that's it.
trouble,
I mean, he's a
and
football player. He's a born full
yeah,
blooded football player. He said it himself.
they want to win all
Yeah,
costs.
he
Like
wants to win.
he's
He's
you got to be
diehard.
smart. You take a look at
And
Mahomes. Mahomes is a great scrambler,
yeah,
and he doesn't take a
but
lot of
that's the
hits
thing that the
because he
preferential
knows when
treatment
to
they
get
think is going to
down. He
change.
knows when to get down. But like I'm saying, some quarterbacks like they know how to get down. Like Mahomes knows how to get
Yeah,
down, get out of bounds, take slides. That's like a certain kind of skill that protects these guys. And
yeah. Well,
Tua's,
again, like you said, it's that heat
got to
of the
protect himself.
moment of being in the game. As an athlete, regardless of how old we are now, when you're an athlete and you're in the heat of the moment, you'll do whatever it takes to get that, that last shot in and maybe, swish it home in basketball or you want to, get on the get on the ice and get out there and hit that last slap shot, make a crazy move, whatever it is. You do whatever it takes. On the football field, though, it's really different because you run a risk every play. And when I played football before, I keep telling people, listen, and everybody has to understand this. You either play hurt or you're injured. Okay. And there's a big difference between the two. And in football, you're always hurt. You're always
Right.
hurt. Nobody's ever like, oh man, I'm perfectly fine. Unless you're a punter or a kicker. Okay.
Right.
And I was one of those, by the way. So it's like, whatever. But when you're talking about Amari Cooper and you're talking about Adams to the Jets too, that's the other side of this coin here.
It's
Is I
true.
see
Same division.
Rodgers, yeah, I see Rodgers with Adams as a really solid pair because they already
Oh,
have
yeah.
that chemistry, but different team, different offensive line, different running backs, different, the schemes are going to be different. And that's why I'm saying with Amari Cooper, he can be a game changer. The potential is there. But let's not crown it yet and say, hey, the season's going to be over for the Dolphins. That's it. The Bills have it. That's it. They're the ones. Because Amari Cooper, he's a big body, but he's not the quickest dude on the field. He's a very good route runner. And he's got good hands, but we have seen him with good quarterbacks and not do great things. And he's got a great quarterback now, but Shakir is still out. So how is that going to change how the offense is? Shakir is a lot faster too. He's kind of that, that shifty Edelman, quick hands. I mean, dude, he's got tons of talent, and it's a different kind of receiver. That's all I'm saying. It's not the same scheme that fits that spot where you're losing Shakir, gaining Cooper, and you're like, oh yeah, we're good. Okay, it's just one guy for another, same body type, same speed, same hands, same everything. Difference, a lot of difference. So you have to look at the scheme they're going to have to run. Cooper, I don't think is going to fit the scheme immediately.
Yeah, well, I guess at the end of the day, can the Dolphins win with Huntley? Right, he's still the quarterback, and
that's what it looks like so far. He's it.
What I know about him, he's a very good game manager. So if the defense can play well and they can run the ball, they can win games with him in like 20-17. You're not going to get.
But that's the problem. Yeah, it's going to be a run first offense. And when need be,
they can win.
Passed.
They can win.
And well, I mean, I don't really want to say they showed it against New England because New England's not very good. But this weekend will be a little bit more of a test, even though the Colts are not the greatest defensive team. But we'll see how he does.
Playing, so it should be a lower scoring game, maybe.
It's going to be well. They have it at I think it's like 41.5 or something for the game. So it's it's higher than I thought it was going to be. But I think he's going to be better just because of the extra time he's had to practice. They had the bye week. So that benefits them a lot. But overall, I do think there's a chance. And if they win, I think 100% Tua is going to play in Arizona. They're trying to keep it hush-hush because if they lose, they're like, do we have a season or do we not? Do we risk playing Tua? Do we not? What are we going to do here? And I was saying, I was throwing out numbers in the beginning of this podcast. I don't have a lot of time left. I've got about 4 minutes, but I was throwing out numbers with Tua and without Tua, last year compared to this year in the first 5 games, and the numbers are astronomically different. Like in terms of just rush yards per game, pass yards per game.
Yeah, I heard some of that, and it's very interesting. I also was reading with Jalen Waddle was having like an amazing yards per route run or something with Tua.
That's the thing. Is a game changer with his offense. Without him, nobody can run it. Right. That's the problem.
For sure, it's his offense. And he has the keys.
That's Mike McDaniel's, no pun intended, Achilles heel is without Tua. Nobody can run it. And I'm not saying okay, Mahomes can't come here and run it.
No one.
Josh Allen can't come here and run it. I'm sure they could. But for what we're dealing with in Miami, when your 3 backup quarterbacks have looked horrible in that original offense, and he's had to kind of dial it down a lot, it says a lot about his scheme and how complex it is. It's pretty. It tells you how crucial and critical Tua is, and how good he actually is as a quarterback. Like I said, love him, hate him, think he's great, think he's terrible. That's the biggest thing is he is a crucial element to making it click. That is all it is because the timing routes, all that, especially the running game. Just look at the numbers. I'm telling you, look at the numbers, guys. Last year to this year, running yards per game, pass yards per game, touchdowns. Again, we only have, this is the craziest thing. I didn't realize this. When I looked up the numbers, I could not believe pass touchdowns this year. We only have 2. And Tua threw them in the first game. Other than that, 0. 0, guys. So it's pretty bad. But anyways, Harris, thank you so much for the call, man. I really do appreciate it. I'm going to have to get off here, guys. I do appreciate all of everything you've done. And thanks for listening, guys, in the archive. I will be back on here on Monday to go over what has happened this soccer I will see you guys next week on Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 9 p.m. Please join me again. Thanks for listening. See you guys next week on Monday.